stole the golden disc for nothing, you idiot!
In the 1990s, my eyes were glued to the television nearly every day watching tons of what have now become classic shows, like Hey Arnold, Johnny Bravo, and Animaniacs. But some of these shows seem to have fallen by the wayside and been nearly forgotten all these years later. Extreme Dinosaurs, The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, and Aaaah! Real Monsters are unknown to even have existed nowadays. One of the shows that I feel is somewhere in between is Beast Wars. Now, I loved Beast Wars as a kid and watched a lot of it back in the day. I even owned the Transmetal Megatron T-rex toy that I left in Dinosaur mode because it took too damn long to transform back into a robot, but whatever. I figured I'd go back and review it for the sake of nostalgia and doing something different every once in a while. Seeing as how this was one of my favorites as a kid, I honestly couldn't wait to check it out again. For the uninitiated, Beast Wars was one of the first cartoons to be completely done in the computer, and the CGI used in the show was done by the same guys that had made Reboot, which is another 90s show that's almost been forgotten. The basic story involves two warring tribes of robots who exit a wormhole and crash land on a mysterious planet with two moons and primitive life forms. The protagonists of the show are called the Maximals, and the antagonists are known as Predacons. It's probably a good idea to mention around now that this show is actually the sequel to the 1980s TV series The Transformers, and it actually follows the continuity of the show and even the movie extremely well. You see, the Maximals are the descendants of Autobots, and the Decepticons are the ancestors of the Predacons. Both factions still at war with one another now 300 years into the future. The reason the robots turn into animals this time instead of cars and planes is actually due to the fact that the Transformers are always supposed to transform into the local life of the planet they're currently on. The only reason the Transformers from the 80s chose to turn into vehicles was because of either faulty equipment in their spaceship or because they were in disguise. I don't really know, forgive me, I'm not extremely literate on older Transformers lore, but this is my basic understanding of the situation. Optimus Primal leads the Maximals with his ape transformation, and Megatron the Preds with the form of a Tyrannosaurus. These aren't the same leaders of the old robots, however, and are actually descendants themselves. Now, the story begins after the two teams have crash-landed onto the planet and the discovery of large amounts of unstable energon are found. This energon is necessary for Transformer life, but too much of it can kill them if they aren't careful. The way the robots shield themselves from all of the energon is by selecting beast forms from the local life. After making their picks on which animals they will become, one of the Predacons rebels against Megatron and challenges the tyrant for his leadership of the team. This usurper is named Dinobot, and his beast form is clearly modeled after the raptors seen in Jurassic Park. This show is extremely of its time, and it's one of the things that makes it so entertaining to me today. After Megatron gets a second in command to blindside Dinobot with a missile straight to the chest, the Raptor goes to the Maximal base and challenges Optimus for leadership as well, and nearly wins. Around now, we're introduced to this character possessing a large amount of honor and warrior's dedication to his duties in the show, and it sets the stage for some great interactions with the other characters later on. It's later revealed that other intelligent life has been to this planet before, and every now and again the aliens give dangerous and foreboding warnings to the Maximals and Predacons during their war. They don't seem to be too happy about the damage the robots are doing to the planet they've crash-landed on, and towards the end of the show, they make it abundantly clear. The episodes pertaining to the mysteries of these ancient aliens are really good and probably consist of some of the best plots the show has to offer. They usually come in between races for stasis pods that drop out of orbit for Megatron and Optimus forces to run towards. These stasis pods were jettisoned by the Maximals before the crash and contain protoforms of Transformers that can be woken up as a fellow Maximal or reprogrammed as a Predacon depending on who gets there first. They serve as a plot device to introduce new characters, and it actually works rather well. That's one of the biggest positives I can give this show is its cast of characters. Every single robot in the show actually possesses a different and entertaining personality that fits their beast forms, and it's honestly one of the reasons the show is so fun to watch. The scientist characters of Rhinox and Tarantulas are actually just as entertaining as the comedy relief with Waspinator and Rat Trap. Now, hindsight is 20/20, and I actually got a really bad feeling revisiting the show to do this review, as the animation has not aged well at all. I was also really worried that the show was only a fond memory in my mind due to my age being in single digits when I was watching the episodes. But after the initial cheesy introductions of each character being framed perfectly to tell your mom and dad which toy you want, the show actually got extremely good. The vast character development and action that takes place in Beast Wars is absolutely incredible, and some of the episodes really go out of their way to make sure the viewer is on the edge of their seat, waiting for what could possibly happen next. One of my favorites is titled Possession. The story involves a spark falling from outer space into the computer system of the Predacons before zapping Waspinator with some strange energy. Waspinator is then revealed to be possessed by the ghost of the Decepticon Starscream, who was killed in Transformers the movie way back in 1986. I had already seen that movie before watching this episode, and seeing it unfold was actually really interesting. Starscream of course lies, saying he died valiantly protecting his leader, Galvatron, against the planet-sized Transformer Unicron, while in actuality, Starscream threw Megatron's badly injured body out of the ship they were flying in before Unicron gave Megatron a new body and name as Galvatron to do his bidding. Galvatron himself is the one that killed Starscream for his treachery, and seeing the character back attacking both sides in the war was really awesome. It was after this episode, though, that the series starts to take a noticeable turn in tone, and a few of the later episodes of Season 1 begin to be far more childish, and not nearly as entertaining as the earlier predecessors. Now, the two-part cliffhanger the season ends on is great, but some of these later few shows feel extremely out of place. The series itself seems to have gone off in a direction where it would push the CGI to its limits by making the characters get flattened or expand in a cartoony fashion reminiscent of other hand-drawn animation attempts in the past, and while it certainly was impressive, it really didn't do any favors to the story once the series started becoming less drama and more slapstick. Hopefully this doesn't continue any further past Season 1, as I actually had a really good time watching this series. It should really be commended today as it's high-quality entertainment as far as storytelling goes, and it even won an award in 1997 for its landmark achievements in this new technology. Beast Wars always finds a way to surprise me by starting off with something I start to roll my eyes at before presenting a twist that I actually become wide-eyed and smile at. It's a pretty intelligent show that kind of masks itself as children's fodder, and I'm excited to watch Seasons 2 and 3, as I don't really remember too much of what happens after the initial setup. I know who dies later on down the line, and that they all get upgraded around molten lava or something. It's been a really long time. In my opinion, the first season of Beast Wars is actually one of the best examples of classic television shows for 90s kids, and it's something that really deserves to be treated as such. I also feel that it's actually of higher quality, objectively speaking, than the 1980s series. Controversial statement maybe, but the show is honestly coherent, action-packed, and full of cool characters that turn into freaking animals and dinosaurs. What's not to like? As a sequel to Transformers, I'd say it more than does its job. The season ends with the aliens opening up one of the moons to reveal a giant weapon pointed at the planet that begins to emit a heat wave designed to destroy all life on the surface, and Optimus has just piloted a stasis pod towards this Death Star in an effort to stop it, so God knows what will happen next. Now, I want to thank all of you for watching this video and hope you enjoyed today's content. If you feel like I deserve it, I would appreciate a like and hope you consider subscribing so that you can see me again. I'll see you on the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.